Hi, I'm Sherry and welcome back to my channel, Sherry Jones Designs. In today's video, we are going to make an all flannel top. I think everybody would appreciate this for the weather that's coming. I'm going to be using this men's 2X shirt, and it's just a simple Amazon Essentials shirt. I do suggest, when you go looking for if you want an oversized, really comfy shirt, men's shirts tend to have the real deep sleeves. So that allows you to layer under it. It allows, it allows a lot more movement. Even if you're a smaller size, you could do a men's small or medium and bring it down, but you get the deeper, nicer sleeves. So something to keep in mind when you're going to make an oversized type top that you might want to layer. Like, I like to wear an overlayer and then the thinner t-shirt type long sleeves under it. It just gives this really nice cozy feeling. You get the softness of the knit, but the warmth of what's over the top. So let's get started, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to make an all flannel tunic. Now, the shirt I'm using here is just a basic flannel. You could use probably any brand. Just make sure you like the feel of it, that it feels okay. Now, a couple things you want to determine beforehand is if you're going to be keeping your cuffs on your shirt, or if you want a style where you gather them at the end. For me, this one is not super long, so I will possibly keep them. Haven't made up my mind yet, but I do know that I want the collar to come off, at least this top collar. So what I sometimes will do, because I want this to be super comfy, and I don't know about you, but I'm not real big on collars, so make sure I got some lighting here. I'm just going to cut along right here and remove the top of this collar just to give it a more casual look and make it a little bit more comfortable to wear. And this totally depends on you. If you like the look of the collar, you can absolutely leave it. It will fray just a little there, which can be trimmed off, but also just, I think, gives it just a cute country look, because we will have some fraying in our patchwork. And I think I'm okay with the collar. Now, if you weren't okay with the collar, you can come cut it here, and I usually come down just a little bit more, and then fold it over. And you'll see that in some of my other videos. If you go watch my other videos, the way I can change up the neckline. And that's up to you. So this time I think I'm going to leave it. And I think I'm going to leave the cuffs too, because I noticed in this one, the sleeves are actually fairly short. Now, most time men's sleeves are longer than this on shirts. So I'm going to leave the sleeves as they are. Okay, now I'm going to be cutting across the bottom of the pocket, which is fine, but I'm going to cut it. Now, if you wanted your top to start down lower, you can absolutely do that. You can choose the length you want to start. I found in my Etsy shop, usually around length of 34 inches sells the best. And with men's deep sleeves, I usually have to start up fairly high. So now I'm just going to follow this pattern. I'm going to cut in about an inch. I'm going to make sure I'm laying flat, and I'm just going to come across and cut it off. Okay, and then we'll save this piece. And now we want to add all flannel pieces. So what I will do now is I will take it to my machine and I serge mine. You don't have to serge it, but I do recommend stitching this part shut. And the reason why is you'll find yourself, when you're going to do stuff, it'll stretch and then your garment will be like this. So, or if nothing else, put a pin in it till you get everything attached. In my shop, what I do is I mean, you can go ahead and pin it to make sure it doesn't move on you. And then what you're going to do is you're going to make sure you've at least sewn this, but I'm going to serge my bottom border. And then after that, what you're going to want is just, I have a random assortment here of pieces that I will be using. And I've decided to kind of use this as my theme. So I'm going to pull colors here out of this. And that's what I suggest doing. Get you a theme piece. You know, make sure it goes with your top piece. And then pull the colors out of your theme piece that you're using to pick your other pieces. So here I've chosen like sort of a brown because I've got a lot of brown in there. I've got a brown. I've got another brown. I'm thinking about adding some red into it. Also, I notice I've got a light blue and I've got a blue here, so blue would be fine. I could use this mushroom one as pieces in it because it's got the colors, the white. Also, another thing is to notice is your background cream or white. A lot of times that will throw off your piece if you've got them together. And then I've got another brown. I could include this one if I want. These are just some options that I have. This one here is a brown. Let's see, as far as blues go, I've got a blue here that I could use. Another blue. And then by mixing up the shades of the different colors, here's another blue. And so get a variety that goes with your top that is flannel if you want the same look that I'm going to be doing today. And then we're going to put them together in a fun way. I typically use either white or black thread so that I don't have to change my serger out a lot, but you can do what you like to do. And if you don't have a serger but you want a little bit more of a finished edge here, just use a zigzag, or some sewing machines have a stitch that looks like a serger. You could use that. And so now I'm going to consider my collar, everything done. I might move this, take this off here, just clip it because it no longer really is going to apply to this garment. And you could even make a custom little label and cover over your label if you would so choose. So now we're going to add on to the bottom of this top that we cut out. Now you could go here. A lot of times I just use some denim. I sew some little denim strips on. That would be really cute. We could do that, or we could just immediately get into sewing on our pieces. Or you could, if you didn't want to do a bunch of pieces, you could take and just attach from here. Let's say you had a skirt, you could just attach the skirt. There are many ways you can go from this point, and a lot of the ways I do show in my other videos. One of the ways is if you had flannel sleeves, you could immediately take your flannel sleeve, attach it to your sides, and then build your center, and that would give you a flannel tunic. So we're going to try to do all flannel on this one. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is I have a big bag of cuffs. So you may want to, you know, get several shirts if you're going to do this method. And I'm just going to attach, in no particular order, some cuffs here next. And I'll probably put this, the side where I cut the cuffs off, and this is going to be all flannel cuffs. I'll be attaching a variety of them all the way around, and from there I will attach more, and I may even finish with this. So let's see what we can put together. Okay, so I'm going to start over on this side, and I'm probably, let's see here, if the buttons don't button, like in this one, like I buttoned them together, but sometimes they won't necessarily match. Like this one's got a double and this one's got a singular, and the way I could see that I could use them is to just, where they wouldn't match together, just sew them like that together. I do see that I could be in trouble with how thick they are, so we're going to find out about that. It would probably look nicer if they would button together, you know, to put one under the other. That's what it is. The right and the left sleeve, they button from the different side. Oh. So this is a pretty blue one. And then we could do a red. If I could find the red that has the button on the right side of it. This one doesn't really. Oh, I'm making this more complicated than it needs to be, but I am. Because, like, here's two, and so you're going to get one. Okay, so I'm dealing with cuffs. You'll get one where the button's on this side and one where the button is on this side because of the right and left arm. And so if you want to button them together and have the raw edge on one side, you will have some that will button and some that don't. So I never thought about collecting them in right and left sleeved sides. So let's just go ahead and start. I'm going to start at the halfway mark here. And if I've got anything like a little extra, I'm going to trim these down as close as I can get them. And then the next thing we're going to do is decide if you want to see, there will be a little bit of fraying, if you want to see it up above, or if you'd rather see the fraying down below. And I think I'd rather see it down below. So I'm going to start here somewhere. And it's not going to be particular because it's not going to end even. You're going to have, one of them is not going to be even. So I just probably don't want buttons directly under the armpit. I'm thinking when you close your arm down, you might be hitting that. So I'm going to start here. And they have a slant to them. And they do have a slant to them. So if you do it this way, you got to be able to overlap when you come back around. Basically, when I sew, I got to be able to make an allowance for that angle there. I'm going to use a zigzag because it's strong and I think it's cute. Okay. It did end up about even on the front, didn't it? I didn't even plan that. Okay. That's all right. It can be even if it wants to be even, I guess. I think you could do this with the collars too that get cut off, so maybe we'll do one with collars. We'll see. Okay. Now I know I'm not going to come up even here, and I will just have to add a little piece in. Which is why I started it in the back side here, so it wouldn't be as noticeable rather than the front. Now I gotta just decide if I want to go, probably go bright. Oh, it actually is going to reach, I think. We'll see how well it reaches. Yep, it's going to reach. Okay, we'll get there and we'll decide how we want to attach it. Will the button actually reach it or not? Let me see if it does. If I come up, I think probably what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to take up this stitching here and I'm going to just tuck this one under this one and then just cut it because I've got a little bit extra, so that's what I'll do. Like and that's good. I didn't do a heavy back stitch here when I took off for that reason. So we're going to just peel it back a little bit, and then I can see I'm going to need to cut it about here. And we're going to go up, tuck it under, and just sew it in place. And then we've got to stitch each one of these down so they don't gap. And then we can start attaching to the bottom of it. Now just close each one up. And for this, I'll probably go to a straight stitch. And I wouldn't have to do straight stitch, but it's going to make it easier to come past the buttons. And then move my needle, because you can move your needle to right or left. And I'm going to move it straight stitch and clear over to the side. And that way I can kind of, you can see I can close this without taking that button off. And just kind of pick that button up. And I can go really close to that button. And so I'm going to do that and just moving it to one side or the other as I need it. Like here I'm going to go to the other side because I'm coming down the button that way. And we want to just close these up so they don't gap and cause issues. Be fairly careful where it's thicker. I slow down in case I might get a needle breakage. Anytime you're going into anything thick and heavy, you might. And so just be on the safe side. Now, is this one laying? You got to make sure they're laying flat. This one where I came off that one acts like it wants to bubble. So let me see. Do I need to fix that? Because I'm kind of seeing a little, see that bubble? Kind of seeing a little bubble here. I think I'm going to seam rip that, make sure that lays down flat. Because I don't like that. That's why it's important to have a flat area that you sew on. Or that you take it, like if you notice that, you could take that over on a table or something, lay it out flat, and check and see why, it could be this button is shoving, like it's not matching good enough and it's shoving it up. Is that what I think it might be the case. Yeah, it's the button. See how the button is, this wasn't pulled back over under or something enough. So what I can do, which is fine, I have enough here, is I'm going to stitch that back down because that's all that was, and I'm not going to close that button on it. I'll just sew it down beside it and it'll be fine. All right, let's take a look at what we have, and I'll show you what I'm going to do from there. Now, how cute and fun is this start? Like, this is just fun to have all those flannel pieces, and now we're going to add flannel to the bottom. Now, if you didn't like how thick this was, you could seam rip and remove that raw edge and sew those all back together. Me, I'm not so concerned. I think the little bits of raw fuzzies and things adds to the character of the garment. So now what I'm going to do is just add pieces. Now, you could make these as big or as little as you want. So I've just got scraps, a bunch of flannel scraps I'm trying to get through. And what a better way to do this is I'm going to make basically a piece of flannel patchwork, put it in here. I may use bigger pieces myself. And then we're going to put this same flannel cuffs at the bottom and add some pockets. So it's going to be lots of fun. And I think I'm going to start with this piece. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it into big squares. And we're going to make a piece of fabric that is basically like a big rectangle here. And then we're going to lightly gather it under here just to give some movement to the garment. We're going to lightly gather. So you could do this two ways. You could just add your pieces all the way around and add down onto it. I think that's what I'm going to do so that I don't have to try to make it all slow, you know, fit together, you know, gather it and gather it evenly. Like I can just gather as I go, finger gather, and then I'll just add on down to the length I want. And so I'm going to start with a piece here. You know, if you found, like I said, you went to yard sales and this was the back of a child's, you know, a worn out shirt or piece of clothing, and you cut it out. And you know, you can see how you can really upcycle and use a lot of clothing. I think I'll put it over on this side because I've got some yellow here. So now I've got some kind of yellow, and this is more of a brighter. I'm going to do something a little darker here. So that's how I'm going to start it. I'm going to go over to the machine and I'll lay this like this. And I'll take my first piece. Let's say this is my first piece. I'm just going to start and I'm just going to gather, finger gather, and gather them on. And I'm doing right angle, no like triangle pieces or anything. These are all going to be on the square. If you try to do triangle pieces and then try to do squares on top of them, you're going to drive yourself crazy. That is very hard to do. So do not recommend that. So all right, let's get started. Maybe I'll use a bright red on this side. I think that would be pretty. Just going to cut out some bigger squares this time, and we're going to do it in bigger squares. There are a couple of ways you could have done this, absolutely, and that's what makes it fun, is that maybe a different way would be easier for you. Maybe making a piece, you know, and then pinning it all in place. Maybe that's easier for you. I don't know. So, but this is the way I'm going to do it. This, to me, is the least hassle. I had to use the least amount of brain work. But all right, let's go attach this, and then I'm going to move the stack over behind me to draw from, and then we'll just make this. We're going to make it pretty. Generally, when I add any kind of border, any kind of color, I don't know why I have the habit. I go and I start here on this side. It's just something I've just been doing. I don't know. Just me, I guess. But now I'm going to see if I like this with this. And I think that stands out quite lovely. So, I can't really tell which way the grain of this fabric goes, but I think it's like this. Now, you could serge the edge of this and then gather it, but because serging makes it a little bit stiff, I think I'm going to just not do that. I already have enough thickness here. It just is going to add another layer of thickness, and this isn't particular about where I start. I could start anywhere, but I do want to fold my first one over so that when I come back, my last layer will tuck under it and I'll have my finished edge. So I'm going to start by folding. It's mostly square, so let's just do this, fold it over, and that's how I'm going to start it. And this is the center underneath. I kind of, it doesn't have to be centered, but I'm going to start somewhere here. Should do just fine. And I'm going to use a zigzag. Oops, got to go back to the center and use my zigzag. And so we are just going to gather, finger gather. Now, if you wanted a lot of gathering, just gather more. If you really want it to move out. If you don't want it to move out at all, you want a garment that's straight down, do zero gathering. But I want just a little. Like, I want to be able to have some movement, and it looks better to have gathering if you want some gathering, but very little. It looks better to do it underneath where the arm is at. So it's on your side instead of directly in front and then poof out. That way it's poofing out on the sides and not in the front, if that makes sense, you know. So let me get my little machine in here, and oops, I pinched my fabric. We don't want to do that. Okay, and I'm just going to do a little bit of gathering, not tons of it, but just enough to make the garment look full and feel nice when you wear it. I find I do better if I make the garment, it's struggling up this hill. If I make the garment like what I would like to wear, I find that I sell more, and sometimes I'll pretend I'm making it for myself, just, and it's interesting how I will do better if I think about how I want to wear it, how I would want it to be when I wear it. Okay, so I just want just a little, like I wouldn't want a ton. I wouldn't want to be tripping over it or lean over and have it in everything. Okay, now when I'm coming up to my next piece, if I was tucking the next one under, I just fold this one under. If I'm putting the next one, folding over, putting it on top, then I can leave this one flat. So I've got something pretty bright. Now I want to go tone it down just a little bit. Let me go cut a square off of it. And by square, I mean it can be rectangle. It can be, and sometimes I don't even really pay attention to the grain of the fabric. You know, patchwork, any way I use it is the way it goes. And I'm going to fold my edge, and then when I get here, I'm going to just tuck it under, and that will be the start of my next piece, like that. And then we'll just do the same with it. Just gather a little bit. And I also want to say, if you use a piece of fabric, let's say that has a print on it, for your color palette, you don't necessarily have to use the fabric that you use to give you some color ideas. You can actually just not use it if you don't want to, and use all the colors that you picked out that were in that. It just helps you make, you know, a palette of colors that kind of go together. At least that's what it does for me. These are pieces from Joann's, and it isn't a true flannel because the color doesn't go all the way through. It is a flannel. You can see it's flannel on the side, but for some reason it's different. I don't know what they sell it as flannel, but anyways, it's quite warm, it's quite soft, it feels like flannel, it's fuzzy on both sides, so I don't know why it's not the same all the way through. I'm guessing that this is printed on a flannel that's just solid color, whereas flannel, the other flannel is woven with colored threads. That's what I'm guessing, but I don't know, maybe you know more than I do on it. Okay, so now we're going to pick another color, and we're going to do that all the way around to the back side. So once you've sewn all your pieces on, next thing you're going to do is you're going to sew, and you're going to start connecting them down. And for that, I like plaids for this reason, is I can square it off. You know, I can tell when I've got a straight line. Like this is folded over, and then I'm just going to hold it like this, finger crease it, and I'm going to sew it on all the way down, leaving the edges down here raw, which is fine because I'll be folding pieces over on top of it. I'm using a zigzag, but you can use a straight stitch. You could also have fun and use bright colored thread. You could change that up however you wanted to change that up. And then I just work it all the way around. My next piece, right here, I'm going to start up on the cuff, get my start, and then I don't want to sew it like that. I want them to be, because they are squares, so they should sort of line up here. And so I'm going to sew all the way down. I've got lines that to follow to get. It doesn't have to be perfect as long as it's close. If you're uncomfortable with doing this, you can lay it out on a table, pin it, and then come back to your machine. It could be harder if you don't have a flat surface. That might be the best way to do it. And so then I'm going to complete that process all the way around, and then we'll be sewing pieces onto this to get to the length that we want. All right, let's take a look at it and see what we have so far. Well, I think it's turning out really cute. I love the playful border on top, the colors in it, and I actually think I'm going to leave out prints. I'm only going to use plaids and this kind of, but I'm not going to use the ones with the little animals. I think I'm actually just going to stick to colors like this. So I'm going to keep going. What you want to do is, I want to use these at the end. So the cuffs, I want to use the cuffs at the end. And they're about 2.5 inches. So I'm going to stop when I'm about 3 inches, 2.5, 2 inches from where I want to be. So let's say you want to make yours 34 inches. I measure down from the shoulder. And then I'm going to, and I want to leave 2 inches to be 34. So I got to stop at 32 somewhere. So already by measuring it, I can see that I'm almost at the right length with this piece. That gives me something to gauge by. So I don't add, oops, goodness, I'm not going to over. That gives me something to gauge by so I don't make it too long and then have more waste. You know, I want to use it pieces, but I don't want to make it too wasteful. Now, if you wanted it to be much longer, like I said, and you didn't want to do as much patchwork, you could have started down lower on your shirt, cut your shirt lower, and then added your patchwork. Some people that are heavier in the top prefer having the waist dropped. It's more flattering to their figure. So another thing you can really do is look at your favorite pieces of clothing in your closet and then notice what you like about it. Then when you upcycle, add those elements into your upcycle. That's what I suggest doing. Take your measurements, you know, lay it out, measure it, make sure you're making something, you know, that has the qualities and the attributes that you're looking for. So I'm going to keep going. I'm going to get them all down just a little bit longer than this. And then I'm going to serge the bottom and I'm going to add some more cuffs on. This is going to be so cute. And then I got to decide if I'm doing anything else, because, you know, this is a time when I could have even added extra things to the sleeves or changed them. You know, I'm in the design process, so let's keep going. One thing I do when making color choices is I have something really bright and bold here. Red stands out. So I want to offset that. So I'm going to put a red on this side so that your eye, it kind of balances and makes the garment feel. And then I may even bring some blue back over here. It just brings balance, in my opinion. It just brings balance to the garment. And then I'll just do a random colors again, just like this, for the bottom border. So let me show you how I would do that. I can start anywhere I want here. I don't have to start in this corner. So I could start here if I want to. Now remember, this was a little bit short. So the piece I add on here, I'm going to put a red piece here. I wanted to come down a little bit, so I have enough for my bottom border. I'm going to take a piece of red, and I've got several different types of red flannel in this garment. Some of them are the same, and I know that when purchasing flannel, that I had several different kinds. So let me see, is it wide enough for what I want to do? Yeah, it'll work. Now is it long enough? I gotta be able to fold it and come about here. So I'm gonna go about here. You know, I'm gonna say something here about Joann's. I know there's inflation, but they're going out of business prices are worse than the sales they used to have. It's very interesting. I don't know who's falling for all of it, but they definitely have some issues. Let's go. I want to set this up. Now how I do this will be, I'll link my patchwork below. This is just basically bigger pieces, the same patchwork I use. There's raw edge and finished edge, in case you haven't seen the video. Raw edge would be where all these edges are raw and you would just lay them down, sew one on, and that is really cute, especially with denim. even like these flannels would be cute. But this is a finished edge one. So I fold one edge at the corner, then I fold it back this way, and that gives me my corner. Then I place my corner where I want it. Now, you could make it perfectly even. I like the look of overlapping, so I'm going to come over a ways. And all the stuff I trim off the back side is used in smaller patchworks, so it's not wasted. And then, because it's plaid, I can tell I've got it folded right, and I can tell where I'm laying it. Alright, and then I'm going to go back up to my beginning point and go that way. By doing it that way and starting at your corner, you're not going to get any bubbling or any kind of problems with it laying out. And also when you're done, you trim the excess on the back side, and that will help it to lay flat. I use this method a lot because it sells well, and I can use it my little pieces, and I just like how it looks. So now, and this is why it's important to have a flat area when you're sewing, if you're doing stuff like this, because now I'm going to finger crease it, lay it like I want, like that, and I'm going to come back over it this way. Now I don't fold this one because I'll be putting another one folded over the top like that. So there's no need to fold it at the end here. Now I probably want to do something kind of dark because I've got bright red and I've got a light colored here, and this is kind of bright. So probably the next one I want to maybe be brown, a darker brown. I think I may go with this. Now let me see if I like how it looks or if I want to do something different. But I kind of want a darker tone here. I think it'll work all right. Now I got to make sure that this is my length I'm shooting for here. I've got to make sure that I got enough that I don't want to waste. So I'm going to want to overlap, and then so it's about here somewhere. This one can be a little bit tricky because the pattern is different. I keep hitting my lamps today. I don't know what it is. Don't know what it is with me today, but and I am making it a little bit long, so I have room to make adjustments. And if it's off, I'll just add a piece. It won't matter, you know, if I estimated wrong and I came up short or too wide. So I can just lay it out, and I can see my angle isn't quite right here. So we just get close, and I want to take this salvage edge off. I think 2 years ago or 3 years ago in January, you could, on the clearance, you could get this flannel for $1.80 a yard by the time you got your discounts. And, you know, things are just going up so much that it's unbelievable. Okay, let's go this way, which is why I have to charge more, because you can't just keep working for less and less and have everything else go up. It's so hard. I feel so bad for everybody. Okay, so now same thing. I'm going to fold it and fold it. What a great way to use up scraps. This one's all flannel, but you could use any type of fabric for this outfit. Just wanted to show you how I make, how I'm going to be making this today. And then I'm going to start at this corner. Now I could sew down. Last time I sewed straight down, but you don't have to. You can just pick one and do it first. I think this time I'll come across the top. I tend to do the long, whichever way is the longest first, but I'm going to lay it out flat. If you're not comfortable with it, just pin it and then come back to your machine. It's fun to go into like a used clothing store and look in any section because you're looking for fabric type, not necessarily a size. You're looking, it's like you're in a fabric store. Do I like the fabric in this? And it can be small pieces that you're going to be putting together. And so that's fun. You're in there looking for fabric types. Okay, I don't really want a green with a green there. So let's maybe do, it's a small piece. Let's do maybe one of these yellow pieces. I think that would be kind of pretty there. So here's what it's looking like. I think it's so pretty. I'm trying to decide on the length. If I want this length here or this length. And then I'm going to attach, the plan is anyways, to attach these cuffs to the bottom of it. I probably will do a couple little pockets, maybe even some patchwork up here. I haven't decided yet. So we're going to keep going, and this is what's fun about upcycling. It is art, and you're creating a piece as you go. So that's why I love it so much. So let's keep going and see what we get. Okay, so I cut the hem straight, and now I'm attaching cuffs, and I've decided to put the part that will have a little bit of fraying. I'm going to put that up so it has a smoother edge at the bottom. And I'm just sewing them on, being careful where it's extra thick. If I need to use my little clothespin or this to help it, I will. That is quite a steep rise. So I do have to be careful not to break a needle. If I do, I mean, it's okay, but it's pretty steep there, so I'm going to do that. Give myself a little bit of help there. And then I'm going to go real slow. As I go through that. And I'm down the other side. And I'm just going to continue this process. I'm going to sew all these little cuffs onto the bottom of this all the way around. Then all I should have left, I think, depending on if I do patchwork or anywhere else, should be the pockets. And this time around, I don't think I'm going to sew these shut because I kind of like them like that. I'm going to leave them as they are. I think it's cute. Okay, I wanted to show you, I come up with, it's literally a 1/2 inch short. And I'm just going to take a piece of one of these here that has already been cut off. And I'm just going to insert it underneath, which means I need to use the seam ripper on this. And I'm just going to, from where I started, I'm going to go ahead and take that up just a little. Not a lot, just enough to slip this under. And I'll sew this one, this little piece under here. So I'm going to cut me a little piece. So if this happens to you, you're not going to probably come out even. Your last one will have to be cut. And so it will go in there like that. And that'll be fine. It'll be just fine. If you wanted to, you could have one over the top instead of both under, but I think I'm going to do that. Well, it is turning out so pretty. I love all the colors, and oh, talk about warm. This, like a pair of warm leggings and comfortable pants under it, is so nice this winter. Absolutely perfect. Now I get to decide on a pocket. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet for the pocket. I was actually thinking that maybe I should use this top fabric. But I think I'm going to make a pocket, just one nice oversized here out of this. And then I think it's pretty much done. I do have a video about pockets and making pockets. So, you can go watch that video. I'll try to remember to link it down below. But if I don't, you can just go to like tips or upcycling and you'll find it there. But it's all about making pockets. They're just different kinds of pockets. Like one of the methods I like to do is I like to use the buttons for the top, and I'll just cut it this way. I'm not sure exactly kind of what I want to do here. I'm kind of thinking, I like the ones that have elastic closure, and I found that the reason why is when you wear the garment, they don't gap open and your stuff tends to stay in them better. So I'm just going to take a chunk of this. I'm not going to do the buttons this time. And I'm just going to make one nice size pocket that I gather. And I think the reason I'm going to do that is, like I said, because it just keeps your stuff in there better, especially if you put a cell phone or something in it that's a little bit heavy. So, I'm going to cut out a piece here, and you know, you can make your pocket however big you want, the size of pocket that you want, and I'm going to cut this top off up here because it's got the bottom of the upper pocket on it. And so this is my pocket, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to hem the top, and then I usually on the serger just make it round. And then you'll see that method in my other videos. So after I turn this over, if you don't have a serger, you could, and you want it round, just cut it round, and then you can have the raw edges. If you want it finished, it's very hard to do raw edge finished round pocket. Just keep your pocket square and fold all your edges under when you sew it on. And then remember to do any decorating on it before you sew your pocket on your outfit. You know, go ahead and sew anything you want on it also. But then after I do this, after I hem the top, is I come down about this far and I will pull an elastic across it to give it the look. So here's my pocket. Now I'm going to fold this under like this and give myself an edge here. I'm going to go ahead. You could use straight stitch for this. Like this. And so now I don't think I'm going to put anything in particular on here because I have so much patchwork already on my outfit. I think I'm just going to do my pocket plain. But now I'm going to get, and you could put it on just like this. You could put a button here. If I did a button, I would make sure this folded clear down here so my button has a double strength on it. I mean, you don't have to, but you know, I would do that. But because I'm going to gather it and not have a button, I'm going to just now turn it over this way, and I'm going to get my 1/4 inch elastic. All right, so here I have my 1/4 inch elastic. And I'm going to start it right. I usually start at about 1 inch. And you know, but it depends how much of a ruffle you want to see on the top. And then I just, once I get my needle in and I do a straight stitch, once I get it started, I just grab the thread back here and I just give it a little tug. You don't want to like pull, the harder you pull it, the more it's going to gather. I just want a little bit of a gather, so I'm just going to give it a little tug as I sew it on. And I've got my arm on it. It's guiding it through. And I backstitch right there, and then once you snip it, you'll see you just have this cute little sort of little honey pot looking pocket. I just love how they look. Plus, like I said, functionality wise, they tend to keep what you put in them. They don't just lean way out. Well, I am so happy with how this turned out. And yes, it is another patchwork. I do a lot of patchworks because they sell very well in my store. So that's something to keep in mind if you also sell on Etsy, is that the patchworks for me do quite well. And one of the styles that does well is the denim across and the denim on the bottom. That style sells very well as well. So, and like in my store, I would offer with this, with one pocket like this, but I will put in my listing, if they want a second pocket, let me know, it's free, and I'll just add it to the other side. Some people want no pockets, and I know one person on Etsy, she does quite well. She just says, if you want a pocket, let me know, and I'll add it, and then she never puts pockets on. So, it's all up to you what seems to sell well in your store if you have a store. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I'm hoping I've worked out some things where I can get a little bit more consistent again back into making my videos. And so keep your fingers crossed. Hopefully I've got some things in the works, but we'll see. And thank you guys for your patience and for your understanding. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and leave a comment. Let me know if you would have done 2 pockets or 1 or none. and let me know what you think of it. So until next time, guys, take care and happy sewing.